All right, welcome back, everybody, to Eco Wealth Lab. Glad to have you all with us again for another deep dive into the world of crypto.
Absolutely.
As always, if you are just joining us or if you've missed any of our previous deep dives, please be sure to scroll back in the feed.
Yeah, check it out.
We've covered tons of ground already.
We have.
Everything from, the very basics of blockchain,
Yep.
all the way through the latest and what's going on in DeFi.
Cutting edge.
But if you like what you're hearing and you want to help others out there, please, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share Eco Wealth Lab.
That's right. Spread the word.
Today, we're going to be talking about the most significant crypto news.
Absolutely.
Hitting the wires right now.
Rapid fire rundown. That's right.
So first up, we got Fidelity and Solana.
Okay.
The SEC has now acknowledged Fidelity's filing for a spot Solana ETF.
Interesting.
Now, a spot ETF, for those who are newer to the term, means that it directly holds the Solana.
That's right.
Offering a more straightforward way for institutions to get involved.
Yep.
That's potentially huge for bringing more big money into SOL.
Potentially huge, yeah.
But it's worth noting that shortly after this news broke, Solana's price actually dipped. We saw reports about 15% following, some news about potential tariffs.
Right.
It's a good reminder that crypto, while it's its own beast, it's not totally immune to the traditional economic headlines.
Yeah, it shows the market reaction is fascinating.
Yeah.
That there's an increasing correlation between crypto and the traditional markets.
Right.
Still volatile, but investors might be interpreting the tariffs as a broader sign of economic uncertainty.
Yeah, and speaking of new ways to invest, Bitwise has launched some really interesting ETFs.
Yeah.
IMST, IKECOI, and IMRA. These are linked to MicroStrategy, Coinbase, and Marathon Digital Holdings. But instead of just holding the stock, they use call options that aim to generate monthly income from crypto's ups and downs.
I see.
So what's the strategy here?
Well, the core idea is to leverage the volatility of crypto to generate yield. Think of call options like betting that a price will go up. So these ETFs are essentially making those bets, hoping that they'll pay off to generate income for investors.
Gotcha.
It's a more complex approach.
Yeah.
But potentially more appealing to those seeking a little bit of yield.
Okay, cool. And while we're on the topic of institutions, down in Brazil, Itaú Unibanco, a major bank there, is reportedly looking at launching their own stablecoin.
Really?
It seems like they're keeping an eye on how the regulations are developing down there and the success we've seen.
Makes sense.
With stablecoins up here.
For sure.
In the U.S.
It seems like it's really catching on globally, too.
Yeah.
Banks around the world.
Yeah.
Recognizing the potential. And want a piece of that action.
Absolutely. So switching gears to regulation here in the U.S., the House Financial Services Committee has advanced the Stable Act, which is all about setting up some rules for stablecoins. I mean, this comes as there's a lot of chatter going on about crypto and various political figures.
Yes.
It seems like they're trying to balance,
Well, this is a key step towards providing clarity for stablecoins in the U.S. Lawmakers trying to balance innovation and consumer protection.
For sure.
It's a challenge.
It is.
Given how rapidly this space is evolving.
Absolutely. And on the topic of government involvement, the House committee also passed an anti-CBDC bill. HR 1919. The big concern fueling this seems to be about privacy.
The core concern is a potential for a government-issued digital currency to allow for increased surveillance of citizens' financial transactions. So hence the focus on financial privacy.
Okay, let's talk platforms.
All right.
PayPal. They're making some big moves.
Let's hear it.
Integrating native support for Solana and Chainlink for their U.S. users. This goes beyond their previous setup with MoonPay. And makes it much easier for their massive user base to interact with these blockchains directly.
That's big.
It feels like a very significant push toward.
It really is. I mean, PayPal has a huge reach. Simplifying that access could lead to a big increase in adoption and activity on both of those networks.
Absolutely. Some potentially good news for Coinbase. Illinois is dropping their staking lawsuit against them. Following similar moves by other states after the SEC backed off. So it seems like we're seeing a possible easing of regulatory pressure on crypto staking services at the state level.
Yeah, it could be a positive signal for platforms offering staking and for users who want to earn rewards.
Yeah. Globally, South Korea is considering opening the door to foreign crypto investors,
Interesting.
but only if their exchanges really ramp up their anti-money laundering
I
controls.
see.
This could have some really interesting ripple effects, potentially boosting the use of USD stablecoins there and
Yeah.
maybe even ending what's known as the kimchi premium,
Right.
where crypto prices
Yeah.
have historically been higher in South Korea.
Right. That's a fascinating development. It
Yeah.
highlights how interconnected these markets are. Increased access for foreign investors could smooth out those price differences we've been seeing.
Absolutely. And finally, on the tech front, Ethereum developers are targeting May 7th for the Petra upgrade, which is set to introduce smart contract wallets, which can improve security and usability, and increase the number of validators on the network. Following a successful test run,
Very cool.
it sounds like continued progress on making Ethereum more scalable and user-friendly.
These are really crucial advancements. For Ethereum's long-term growth,
Yeah,
smart contract wallets offer enhanced security and flexibility.
right,
A larger validator set
right.
contributes to a more robust and decentralized network.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Cardano has launched Viridian,
Okay.
a decentralized digital ID platform
Interesting.
with built-in post-quantum security,
Wow.
along with the Viridian wallet.
Oh.
This is all about giving individuals more control over their digital identities in a secure way.
This is really important in an increasingly digital world.
Yeah.
Empowering people to manage their own digital identities securely.
Right.
Cardano's focus on that future-proof security is notable.
Absolutely. So in a nutshell, we're seeing movement across the board here.
It's all happening.
New ways to invest, evolving regulations, platforms making crypto more accessible,
For sure.
and some pretty exciting technological upgrades.
It's a really dynamic landscape.
It is.
It leads to an interesting question for you listeners. How might this increasing convergence of traditional finance with decentralized technologies
Right.
ultimately transform how we manage our money
Yeah.
and think about ownership in this digital age?
It is definitely some food for thought. Thanks for joining us. So if you have more questions or topics you'd like us to explore, let us know.
Let us know.
Until next time, keep your curiosity sharp and keep exploring the world of crypto.